call, you guys, the first 15 minutes, we're going to go through a little bit of background. I'm going to ask some questions because I want to know what Pana is, why it was set up. But then at that point, please, we're here to answer your questions. So any questions you have, type in the chat box with the big word caps question, and I'll know you're not chatting amongst yourselves. And I will filter the questions through to Emily or Emily. If it's for a specific Emily, make sure to type which one in your question. If not, I'll just throw it at both of them and let them speak in unison. So as we said, chat amongst yourselves, have fun, type question anytime you want, and when I have an appropriate moment, I will filter it through. I was telling Emily Lawrence and Emily Ellet, our two esteemed guests, that I am normally very curmudgeonly when it comes to like joining things. I mean, I'm on APAC and I love it. So I don't know why. Once I'm in them, I love the joining bit. But Emily Lawrence has, and I've said this to everyone a million times, Emily Lawrence has saved my career and my sanity. I can't say enough about her. I can't say enough about her. So if Emily Lawrence says, can we book a call to talk about cockroaches, I'm there, right?
Next time.
Exactly. And also when I heard that Hillary Huber, Stephen J. Cohen, Helen Lloyd, Emily Ellet, I'm going to stop before I start leaving people out and then backtracking. There are a lot of our colleagues here that we all love, and they're here looking after us, and they're here joining together. And this is our chance to ask our questions. So maybe, I don't know which one of you would like to start. We could give us a little bit of background about Pana. I know that Rich covered some of the basics, but for the purpose of people that weren't on the call or didn't hear the podcast yet. Also, you guys, this takes about 2 weeks for the recording to come out. Is it Speakeasy? Rich Miller's amazing podcast. Emily and Emily were both on that as well. So catch that after this call, because you can't have enough Speakeasy. Okay.
We're also, we have a couple Clubhouse dates, and the Speakeasy is also on our website. If you go to the homepage and scroll down, we have a media section.
FAQ, yeah.
So pronarrators.org, where you can find all that stuff. And then as this is ready, we'll post it there too.
Yeah. Wonderful. And when this comes out in a few weeks, I will put it in the About section, all the links, any links or anything you discuss on the call you want added, we'll add to that section. Okay, so tell us about Pana. Open-ended question.
So Pana, the Professional Audiobook Narrators Association, is a nonprofit trade association located in the US. However, we are open to international members and narrators of both union and non-union status. In order to become a member, you just have to be able to show us that you've narrated one audiobook, minimum of one audiobook, through a recognizable publisher of some sort. So if you just send us a list of your titles on Audible or Scribd or, wherever, anything that you can show us an audiobook available for purchase or whatever, it counts.
I love that part. Can I just say I love that part when I heard that, because right there, it doesn't start to feel like it's leaving people out, because
Absolutely.
I think the new people are just as important to an industry as veterans.
Well,
and
new people become veterans. So yeah, we want us all to work, and that was the entire point of Pana, was we wanted a place where all of us who are doing this work professionally can come together and make decisions about the industry and give each other resources and events that we want. So yeah, we want everyone included in that.
Okay.
100%. So our goal basically is to be an organization that was created by narrators, it's run by narrators, and it is for narrators. So a lot of people have asked us, like, what's our agenda? What are our plans? We very much look forward to all of that being decided by our members. Yes. So we have a general idea of where we want things to go, and we created committees to reflect and pursue those goals. So for example, one of the things that brought me to this organization, or to deciding to create it, was wanting to have a peer-reviewed award ceremony. So we created an awards committee, and they're going to be pursuing that. We have 8 committees. They are the awards committee, events, education committee, which is going to create educational resources and certification type programs. We have the advocacy committee, which is going to pursue any changes in the broader world or industry that we would like to see and advocate for our members' interests in that regard. We have the membership committee, who are in charge of basically welcoming membership, making sure that they're happy, listening to feedback, etc. We have the communications committee, which will do our website, social media, and sort of that thing.
Are you going to do like socials or anything like the
Yeah, that would fall under the events committee. Will be creating networking events, social events, possibly conference one day. A what?
Online things?
I mean,
absolutely.
Definitely an option. It's again, like Emily said earlier, it's up to the members to decide what they want. You want something? Speak up.
Yeah.
We're here to make it happen.
There is no top-down, this is how it's going to be type of thing. The way it's going to work is that if you have an idea, you join a committee, the committees create, so legally speaking, only the board can sanction actual activity. That's just a legal requirement. But it's really up to the committees to say, here's what we want to do, here's our plan, here's our budget, et cetera. Come to and present that to the board, and then the board will look at what all of the committees are doing, maybe make some priorities about resources and where financial resources, time, attention, et cetera, needs to go first. But ultimately, it's all generated by the members, and that's something that's really important to me, and I think everybody who's involved so far, is to have an organization that reflects what we as members want and speaks for our voice rather than pushing some sort of particular agenda.
Also, we skipped the DEI committee.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance because we kind of
we veered. Yes,
the DEI committee, which is very important. I didn't mean to skip it. We just kind of veered, and I think
you're going to be veering a lot.
We might have missed. But it's all on the website. It's all there.
And also then the 8th one is the sponsorships committee, because that one is super important. That's how we fund extra things. So
the way that the sponsorship committee is going to work is that, in addition to pursuing sponsorships in a sort of traditional sense, we've decided that we've had a lot of questions about whether people who are not narrators can join. And we have made the decision.
Casting directors. Stuff
exactly. And we have made the decision to limit membership to narrators. However, we would love for anybody who's not a narrator or who's a producer, casting director, proofer, editor, etc., to still be able to be part of the community in a way. And so we're creating sponsorship tiers for those people to support us in that way. And those tiers, depending on the tier that they choose, will come with different benefits, such as discounts to events, things like that. So everybody will be able to take part, but the sponsorship committee has to create those tiers before they're ready.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So much like other organizations have, say, AI companies sponsoring them, I can't see it going that way, but you guys would maybe have like a casting directors sponsoring if they wanted to, and they could join in. But the one thing they wouldn't be able to do is make decisions or come up with ideas and participate.
It would function similarly to how, so in the APA right now, narrators and proofers and editors and et cetera can join the APA as non-voting members. Mm-hmm. Rather than having non-voting members, we decided to just call them sponsors. And then that way, right. Well, and so that way they understand that it's like a donation. They're contributing to supporting the group. They'll get certain outlined benefits depending on the tier that they choose. But there is no, feeling like you're a member, but not really, which some people, have that complaint. And then there's also just, this isn't a narrators organization. So only narrators can vote for board members. Only narrators can join committees. Only narrators can really participate in deciding the direction of everything. And we don't want anybody else in the community to feel excluded, hence the sponsorships, but we want to make it clear that this is our organization.
Okay, so what if the narrators What will determine if a sponsor is approved as a sponsor? Will the narrators have a voice now? Just because I know, I mean, I like everyone, but I've got a picture. What if like some narrators say, oh, wait, hold on, that sponsor is antithetical. Antithetical? I'm a narrator. I should know that
Unethical?
word.
That's a really good question.
To what I
Honestly,
believe
the
in. Do you know what I
sponsorship
mean?
committee will be answering
Okay.
those questions.
We put together for each committee, we put together a document that outlines sort of, here are great discussion questions to get you started, and we'd love to have some answers to these things at the end of your first meeting. And one of the main ones for sponsorships is, will we decide to let some sponsors in and not others? And how do we make that decision? What are our guidelines around that? Again, because this is a supported, members created sort of organization, we want the members to weigh in on that. And if you would like to serve on the sponsorships committee, please fill out our committee interest form, because we really do welcome all voices and as much activity. We're only able to achieve what the members sign up to do.
Okay, I've got a question already. They haven't typed a question, so I won't say the name, but I'm pretty sure it was a question. I've got a couple coming in. What will a sponsor receive in return for their contributions? That's to be decided, is it?
Yes.
Okay, another question.
Well, yeah, so let me just say that what they get will be clearly outlined in the sponsorship tiers. So
Okay.
like if you become a sponsor of some level, you'll get, discounts to events, you'll get discounts to award submissions, you'll get your name in our, your logo in our emails, whatever. But if you do a different tier, you might get something else. So all of that is what the sponsorship committee is
setting up.
And then once we know, it'll be very clearly outlined on the website. So the website should be a one-stop shop for both the public and narrators about information about Pana.
And it looks like that already. It looks like it's pretty all inclusive of a lot. So it'll be interesting to see it grow. It's a great website. I've got another question.
Thanks.
Are the $125 annual dues by the calendar year or by date of joining, i.e. what happens when you join in what is nearly November?
Well, everyone's joining now, so I don't think we're going to charge anyone dues as of January 1st. So it'd be a real dick move.
There's also our payments provider, the system that we're using. That's not how it works. It'll charge you on 365 or 6 days from now, whatever, that part is automated.
Okay. It's and no problem with not putting a question. I just wasn't sure. Sometimes people don't want their questions with their name attached. So no worry, I caught you. Okay. Question, is there a potential conflict of interest in being a member of Pana and APA? Any hard feelings that you can foresee?
I sincerely hope not. I have personally only benefited from my membership in the APA. I genuinely do not want them or anyone to see this as like a competitive move or anything that comes into conflict. I think that we should absolutely be able to participate in both, just like you could be a member of Pana and also a member of SAG-AFTRA. So sincerely, that is not my intention. Now, I have no control over how others may feel or how individuals in the APA may feel, though for what it's worth, we did reach out to both SAG-AFTRA and the APA and expressed our intention of working together.
Being partners, yeah.
You're not taking anything away from them. I don't understand, why would they be?
I mean, I think, there's been a lot of discussion in the narrator community. There's been people who are dissatisfied with the offerings of either of those organizations. Again, I think all of the board is pretty darn pro-union and, grateful for the APA. There's no... It was actually one of the early discussions as we were looking at creating an organization was, what needs aren't being met? It wasn't about how can we, stick it to one or the other. It was about what needs are they unable or simply not filling right now that we need. And so that was where, this whole organization came from, was sitting down and outlining the many things that we've heard discussions about, or that, we have pet projects, like Emily really wants this peer awards show, which I'm super down for, like all these things that we care about. And there's no place for those right now. Well, we need a place for those. We need a place for narrators, by narrators, with narrators, all of that. And I did sit down and have a good actually a pretty long call with Michelle Cobb, the head of the APA, and she expressly shared her support and best wishes. She offered herself as a resource if we had questions. She's super supportive of
Oh
this.
my
She
God.
does not feel threatened.
I cannot understand how Michelle Cobb does everything she does. She supports like everyone, like she runs the world pretty much, and just like quietly with a smile. And also, I think you're right about the peer reward thing, because now I'm thinking how many times Emily's mentioned.
Hey, but
She's
we've all
really
got those
excited
that we're
about
really
it.
passionate about.
I
How many
love it.
people in these Facebook groups have talked about AI?
Well,
Like,
because
everybody's got their thing.
yeah, and Rich mentioned, because I know you mentioned on the call with Rich that that was what you had originally wanted, before running into like the rules with SAG and everything, right, Emily? You were
Yeah,
keen to set up.
some background was I actually around, I think January, February, started, people were talking on Facebook, like, wouldn't it be great? Because I think a lot of people are feeling like the audience increasingly goes to celebrities, author reads, things like that, and that a lot of sort of bread and butter narrators get left out. And the IAA, I think, is great, but it's only for indie books. And so those of us who only work with publishers can't really be considered. And then a lot of people don't like how the SOVAS only listens to like 10 minutes of the book. And they made a very pro AI statement this year that made a lot of people, including myself, very wary of giving them any money. Or supporting them in any way. So it became very, I think, I'd heard that every single year when the audio nominations come out, I hear like, oh, wouldn't it be so great if we had a SAG Awards for audiobooks? I was like, I'm a go to it kind of person. I'm going to reach out to SAG and see if I can make that happen. And so I did. And I met with the producers of the SAG Awards, and they were generally supportive of the fact that I wanted to do that. But unfortunately, because they're a labor union, they had a lot of legal restrictions and red tape. They basically told me that I had to raise like $100,000 to pay for this awards show because they had to hire an outside company to run the elections, and that they couldn't share, union member information with people who are not staff members. There were just all these restrictions, but I completely understand when they explained it to me. But, there was no way I was going to write SAG-AFTRA a check for $100,000 to do this.
What, you don't have that lying around?
So that was kind of around the time when it became clear that that was not really an option. A lot of discussions on Facebook were happening about maybe we should have our own sort of organization. And I was like, well, hey, this works perfectly. I'll just put these efforts into that. Emily and I connected that she'd been previously working on a similar but different kind of organization with somebody else who left the industry. And so we just joined teams and started making it happen. And
have you noticed you guys later, are like,
here we are.
You guys are like if you put you two together, you're like a superhero. Because isn't it weird? You kind of do finish each other's sentences and you balance each other out with like differences. Do you know what I mean?
I've had so many emails. Yes.
I love that.
We've done a lot of work together.
Yeah. Okay. We've got questions coming hard and fast, so I'm going to throw a few at you, right?
Okay, go for it.
And guys, I'm not going to say your names. Normally I do, but there's so many people on the call just to save time and also to stop me accidentally sticking my foot in it. If you sent me a private question, I just won't mention who's asking what. Does Pana have a BN/BR policy? Be nice, be respectful for interactions. I'd love to see a higher level of manners compared to some of the behavior seen in some union meetings and Facebook narrator groups. I'll throw that out to whoever wants it.
That's an excellent idea for the membership committee when they're figuring out how we can meet membership needs. I think that's an excellent thing for them to look into.
I'm going to write that down.
We've got about 700 people now saying that Michelle Cobb is amazing. Hold on. Oh, you mentioned a committee interest form, but can't seem to find it on the website. I'm on my phone. Can we get a direct link?
That actually comes once you have signed up as a member. It's in the first email that comes to you saying, pay your dues, and also please fill out the committee interest form. So once you're a member, you get that form, and then I look at all your information, and it's super exciting.
I love the narrators here. Here's Anna Caputo. It's the one in the welcome emails, bottom of the first paragraph in the welcome to Pana.
Thanks, guys.
And you want anything done in this world, ask a narrator. Okay. 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 Thank you, Chris. Bye, Chris, if I haven't already lost you. Okay, hold on one second. We've got another question. Okay. Okay, so somebody says, what is the benefit of Pana for a newer narrator?
Oh, go ahead, Emily.
No,
I just was
go for it.
excited.
You had such a strong reaction. You go.
I just think, okay, so the best thing about the narrator community is the fucking community. And it's the way people lift each other up and mentor each other and share information and share resources and share their experiences. And, you know, it's basically every narrator community that I've been a part of is on the whole, you know, incredibly kind and generous and supportive. And so this is basically a formal way to harness and then disseminate that energy of support and care and lifting each other up and helping us all grow together. That this is, you know, we've just given it a structure to do what people are sort of naturally doing in these communities. But if you aren't a part of those communities, or you don't know they exist, or you don't have any sense of that, you're missing out on so many resources. Whereas, you know, and how do you know that there's a professional audiobook narrators group on Facebook? Like, you don't. And so unless someone tells you. And so part of the idea of Pana is that we can be that voice saying, awesome, you want to do this? Let us share with you all of the resources and opportunities and people and advice. And, oh, you want Facebook groups? Here's a list of Facebook groups. And I think this would be probably like, this is what I wish I'd had when I'd started out, is what I think Pana will be a year from now. So
I think we're also, just to piggyback on that, because I absolutely agree with everything that Emily just said, but we are in the works of creating some pretty comprehensive resources that, and collating available resources. Like right now, it's like, if you know that so-and-so does this thing, then you know that you can do that. And then there's this other group over here doing that. And there's a lot of really amazing community-driven resources already, but you have to know they exist. So one of our goals is to collate them together so that, you know, it's like a one-stop shop for everything that you can possibly have on offer. But we're also, a long-term goal is creating comprehensive educational programs for new narrators and others, so that it's like in the way that a guild kind of educates people coming up through the ranks, or you know, I don't want to say like a college program, but like a certification program where it's like an intensive kind of learning experience where you can come out of it and have certifications that are meaningful to employers, and they know that you've been trained to a certain degree if you reached a certain level. That's very much in its infancy. It's just something we've talked about and the education committee is pursuing, but that is very much a long-term goal of ours.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of those big needs that we saw when we sat down and said, what are the needs of the community? And especially for new narrators, a way to have training and certification credentials that you then can reach out to a publisher or meet a producer and be like, oh, I'm Pana certified. And they'll be like, oh, I know what that means. Great. You know, and so again, like Emily said, we have so many ideas and excitement, and, you know, that admittedly, that program, particularly the sort of narrator certification, guys, those things take quite a while to build. They're very complicated, and we want them to be good. We don't just want them to be, we want them to be meaningful and valuable. So those might take a little longer, but we've got an idea for something.
Inclusive and not exclusive. I'm big on that because I hate things that set up standards, and anyone that has this certificate's good, and anyone that doesn't count, because that's like a pet peeve of mine. Mean, it's an opportunity to teach people.
Yeah.
Well, and somebody just said, and I think this is important. Thank you, Emily. Their experience in the community was not, big caps, friendly, but I'm learning there is a wider group of narrators I can access. Thank you for making me feel welcome. Can I please say to that person, you better be a member of Cup of Joe, by the way, and join Pana, join Joe, look for the people that you want to hang around, because online is a big, scary, Wild West world. And there's so much positive to go to. Am I right? There's people like Emily, and Helen and Hillary. And I mean, people putting all their energy and their talent behind supporting each other and making sure we get there. So if you're having a not friendly experience, you're hanging out with the wrong crowd. Am I right?
Oh, yes.
Do you guys not agree?
No, I agree. I think the narrator community is one of the most friendly, welcome. I mean, considering that we're all in theory kind of competitors, I think that we're some of the most welcoming, like, I've never had so much support from people who potentially could like steal a job from me, like it's really wonderful, I think.
Exactly. And also coaching. We all get coaches all the time, don't we? And every single coach I've ever been to, yes, I'm paying them. They could just run through like this and that and this, but they literally sit there and pour their soul out trying to help you. Do you know what I mean? That's the spirit in this community. And I do think a lot of it has to do with the world being online these days. That it's easy if you go on some groups or something and you throw a question out, you could feel negative about it. But if you really get involved, which is what Pana could do, you're getting involved on a more personal level with people rather than just what you see on Facebook or Instagram and I think that it enriches you, doesn't it?
Totally.
Yeah. Question. Will the community element be on Facebook or on Pana members site, the Pana members site?
I think see it being on Facebook. I think it'll be on Wix, but we haven't actually explored. I know what the capacity is there to do that. I'll be honest, I created this website and it is so much more website than I've ever created before. And I'm eagerly looking forward to the communications committee taking it off my hands because, so the potential to do it there is there, but I don't know if that's ultimately what the communications committee is going to decide is the most useful.
Or the membership committee, but how they think meeting members' needs is. I mean, again, great idea to move it off Facebook if we can. I know a lot of people hate Facebook and would love to do that. But again, this is up to the communications committee and the membership committee deciding what their priorities are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Will the community? Oh, no. I already asked you that. Sorry, I keep going back. Helen says it also ensures that the quality of the information going. I know, Helen, I'm being cheeky. You didn't say question, but I'm reading it out loud anyway because it's a good one. It ensures that the quality of information going out there is not a load of waffle and no one is trying to sell you anything. So proud to be part of this. And then there's like 20 messages talking about what is waffle and how will Pana differ from WOVO? And then somebody says, what is WOVO? And I don't know what WOVO is either.
Probably VO.
World of Voices. It's a voiceover organization focused for VO actors in particular. Okay. I'm not personally aware of audiobook narration specific.
Yeah, and Helen just answered audiobook related rather than voiceover.
Yeah.
Can I say?
Hi, Helen.
Hi, sorry. I'm also a member of WOVO. WOVO is the World Voices Organization, and it's a very supportive, great organization with a mentoring scheme, but it is not specifically audiobooks and is not specifically audiobook narrators. There are audiobook narrators I'm there, and I do mentor people for audiobook narration through WOVO, but it is primarily a voiceover group rather than, and they do studio certification and a lot of the things that Pana are going to do, which is so exciting. But again, it's much more to do with commercials and corporate stuff than it is audiobooks.
Which I think is important to mention. Studio certification is one of the things that is on our radar and probably a priority for the education committee. But like, for example, we all those of us who work in audiobooks know that having your studio set up to do a commercial is very different. A 30-second spot is very different than a 10-hour audiobook. So, having an organization that understands those differences and is focused on it so that we can get you ready for audiobooks in particular and not just a sort of general VO idea.
I think that also raises an interesting point, which is that we recognize that our members are going to be a very diverse group, even within how audiobooks are a part of their life. For some of our members, audiobooks are a small part of their VO plate, and for some members, audiobooks are a fun hobby that they get paid for and want to treat professionally. Some narrators, some of our members will make their entire living from audiobooks, and some of our members will also be producers or authors. Like, we recognize that there's a lot of
who also narrate books.
Right. So there's like a lot of interdisciplinary things going on. I mean, we all know we're all multi-hyphenates. That's like the gig now. And so, that's part of both what the diversity, the DEI committee and the membership committee have as part of their marching orders is like, how do we consider all those various perspectives? What do they need? What should we be aware of?
Okay, so I've got another question. I've got a lot of questions coming in, so I should will Karen Commons be a sponsor, Narrator's Roadmap? It's already a gold mine for new narrators.
That's up to Karen. Yeah. We'd love to have her.
We haven't talked with her because we don't have sponsorship tiers to offer anyone yet. So
yeah, and that's the thing. There's so many places to draw on, and I just realized something when Helen was saying, see, this is, I think, why we have to check our assumptions at the door, because Helen was asking about the link for the call, and I said to Helen, I said, well, I'm not really a joiner, but I'm gonna give it an open mind because, of Helen being on it. I mean, you've all heard me raving on about Helen and Emily, and, just can't say enough. But my first thought when you said certifications was, it's going to be like a degree. You have to have this. But actually, when I started being a narrator, the first training I ran into was the one Helen created, and it scared me to death. And it was all about the rules of the things to submit to the publishers and the sound quality. And it was so in depth. But I think that if I look back now, it played a massive part in me being the narrator that I am now. It was quite a shock being new and seeing this is what it entails. And now that I realize it, a lot of narrators aren't getting that. They're getting someone that's got 4 books. And it's like, I'll coach you, right. And I don't know what I would have done without Helen's training. I literally don't know what I would have done. It probably would have taken me 4 times as long to get there. So certification, and my first assumption was certification. They're gonna, but if you clock yourself and look at it, it could be invaluable.
Yeah, I don't think that it's going to, I don't necessarily plan on getting certified because I don't really need to. I don't think it's going to replace good old fashioned, having a great portfolio, having relationships with people. I don't think could replace
new narrators. It could really help.
Yeah, I mean, when I started narrating, I had just graduated from a 4-year conservatory, and that was a lot of where my training came from. And so I think there is a lot of training out there that people could benefit from and kind of just to see what all there is that they could learn. But I also think that for our employers, that's a huge benefit, because as it is now, they can listen to a 3-minute sample and then you can say, oh, I've coached with Emily Lawrence or whoever. But just because you say you coached with me doesn't mean it could have been 1 session. They don't know necessarily like how much coaching you've done and how advanced in your training you are. So that's kind of why we thought that having a multi-tiered or leveled or whatever certification program would be a benefit that we could offer to the wider industry.
I also think this gets into something that you felt strongly about when we were in the planning stages, which was, sort of raising the bar, lifting all of us and saying, we want the standard of narration in our industry to be at a certain point and be part of the conversation of going, we'd like to be better. And I think this is a great structured possibility for helping lift each other up and saying, like you said, experienced veteran narrators who have contacts and have CDs that, casting directors that trust them and work with them. You probably don't need certification. But for a new narrator who's like, well, how do I work with publishers? We hope that this is a great way to say, well, if you take this training, you will have a certification that means something. It's not just putting money out there. It's then something you can take to a casting director or a publisher and say, like, I'm this certified, and they have a baseline to understand where you are in your journey as a narrator. Because, casting directors and people, they want to support new narrators. They want to find new talent. Everybody wants to do that. But it's hard when they don't have any way, like Emily was saying, to gauge what exactly your training was. And so it is intended more for the newer narrator, and to help, bring us all into the same sort of baseline from a quality perspective. So
but
that
then
as
Helen said, sorry to interrupt, but Helen said, please make sure that veteran narrators are not left out. So many organizations don't address more experienced people who want to go up a level.
Well, sure. Helen, I mean, I think that we could absolutely do that too. I also want to say that, when we're talking about the incoming robo-apocalypse, the way that we as narrators can help fight that is to make human narration so much better that like a robot cannot compete. I also think it's really important to reiterate right now that we are a nonprofit. Emily and I are volunteers. The entire board of directors is volunteers. Everyone on the committee are volunteers. Nobody's making money off of this. No. We will, we'll adequately compensate our instructors, because we want to have great instructors, and nobody's going to, work for free, and we don't expect that. But this is not like we're looking to make big bucks or anything like that. We are a non-profit.
Very much so. And yeah, as far as experienced narrators go, I mean, my point wasn't to say experienced narrators don't take this, but more that, don't feel, we're not here to make money off of all the narrators. It's just, we're trying to offer a value add here. And for experienced narrators, that's actually one of the major questions for the membership committee. How can we make long-term members and experienced veteran narrators feel as included and a part of something and valued as new narrators, because they do take different focuses, and they take different approaches. And so, that's one of the things that we hope they will discuss in their meetings.
Okay, so we've asked the questions. So let's talk about B-Audio.
B-Audio. Oh, you're jumping right in.
Well, to get everyone up to date who may not have heard, this morning, or I guess it was last night while I was sleeping, I woke up to the email. The new CEO of B-Audio sent out an email kind of saying hello to everyone on the roster. And the previous CEO, James, had a habit, usually on Christmas, of emailing the full roster to tell us how B is looking into AI narration. And how they're keeping their eye on it, and that they want all of their narrators to know that they're on the front edge of this, which was always just kind of like, really? Okay. But today the new CEO made an announcement that they have actually been they have been actively working on machine learning technology for the last few months. And so a lot of people have reached out to us to ask, what's Pana's response? Now, mind you, we've been open to members for 5 days. So this is kind of a trial by fire situation. We understand that, one of the reasons that we founded this organization is for exactly this kind of thing. We understand the importance of this. We understand that this moment is kind of a make it or break it moment, and that there's a lot of people who are giving us, they're becoming members. They're showing trust in us, that they're giving us a chance. And that if we don't use this moment, that it'll be letting a lot of people down, and a lot of people will get jaded with us super fast. And we completely recognize that, because we're one of you. Yes. At the same time, like, I had to reach out to our lawyer this morning, because I wasn't actually clear on what, as a trade association, which is a legal entity, but we legally, like, there are restrictions on what we can do. Like, for example, the APA cannot, when you're, at APA events, you can't discuss rates, because trade associations can't engage in anti-competitive behavior. So, there are also restrictions on us and what we can do in that way, and we're figuring it out. It's also important to us not to step on SAG-AFTRA's toes, not that necessarily we have to do what they say or anything, but that, we don't want to hinder any negotiations that may be ongoing. We have been having the board members have had an ongoing email thread this whole day. We're figuring out what we understand the importance of this. We are trying to figure out the best most effective move for us at this point. It's a difficult situation, especially being so new. So
Yes.
please know that we are taking it so seriously and we're truly doing our best. And if we let you down, it is not because we wanted to, or we're not doing the absolute best that we feel that we can. I really don't know what else to say about it.
But can I interject? Because I feel like, tell me if I'm wrong, right? The whole focus of Pana is narrators looking after ourselves, because who better to look after us than us? So it's not Emily and Emily, what are you going to do on our behalf? It's how are we all going to be organized enough to do what's right on our behalf? It's not you alone in it. The whole point, and I think the enthusiasm, I don't think in my opinion, I don't think it's 209,000 people joining you in the first 5 days and then going, right, what are you going to do for me? I mean, of course, people are saying, well, what am I going to get from this? But at the end of the day, I think we're all intelligent enough to understand it's us joining so that we can see what can we do for each other. So it's not just you two, it's everyone.
Well, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just to say, and just a clarification point, I am an advisor to the board as the treasurer, and as co-founder, I'm also just doing all sorts of things, but I am not actually part of the board, so I can't technically do anything for you. Just wanted to clarify that. Emily is chair of the board, so she is a board member. I am an appointed advisory role.
The treasurer is, as is the secretary. So when you go to our About section, you'll see 11 names and faces. Emily is our treasurer and Janina Edwards is our secretary. Those are both positions appointed by the board and they are advisory. They're not elected positions. The board, after this first one, because we needed a board to get founded, will be up for election every year. In September is when our board first met in September.
Representing everyone. I love the fact that you're taking the responsibility so seriously, because it's a person that feels that burden of responsibility is the only kind of person that could create this kind of thing and co-create it. And so it's wonderful you're taking it seriously, but you're representing. So all you have to do is, this is our chance to step up. This is our chance as a community to step up and say, this is how we want things to be. I don't think you can be expected to know right now how effective that will be, because nobody's ever done this before.
No,
so
we haven't.
We're trying. I mean, and also, I am on the board. I'm the chair of the board as well as being co-founder. Right now, Emily and I are doing all of that. Like, I saw somebody asking if we're going to be handing over email communications. God, we hope
Please,
so. We would really like to not have to do everything really soon.
Oh,
but
man.
in terms of the board, there are 9 members of the board. So that's 9 votes. So even if I'm like, if I believe one way, it's not just me. So we're a republic, essentially. We're representatives, and so the 9 members of the board will vote on what they feel the best action to be, and it may not be something that you or even I agree with. I don't know. We haven't come to a succinct decision yet, at least as of an hour ago when I jumped on here we hadn't. But we're weighing all of our options, and we understand the importance of this moment, and we are taking it so seriously, and we are so wary of misstepping, and we're so wary of losing the goodwill of this community, which has been honestly so beautiful and so touching to see all of the support that we've gotten. And I personally do not want to squander that because that's why we created this. That's what this is about.
And that's your chance. You have a window to do something that unions, when they were first thought of, before they became, I'm not going to say anything, but you have a chance to do something in a utopian way, to literally let the members of a community strive to take control and run themselves. And if you do that, and if you empower people, it could be truly wonderful and brilliant. Do you know what I mean?
I also want to put a note of caution to that, just more generally, not about this specific issue, but looking at membership and the potential for utopia, but also the potential for discord. I have been a member of several
You're not just
churches and
potential, the
other.
certainty of discord.
Yes, I think that's fair. I think that's one of the things to keep in mind is for as much as we all want a utopia, we are hundreds of people with different perspectives, different
Right.
backgrounds, different opinions. And so while we will do what the majority of the organization wants, unless the board feels that it is not wise for some reason, which, okay. While we do that, I think it's important to remember that there will be divisions. You won't
Yeah,
agree with
good
every
point.
decision that's made. And while this board, and hopefully every board, is really committed to transparency and openness and making sure that everyone feels, or at least has gotten, the reasons for any decision, I think it's also helpful to remember that you will be one of hundreds, and you're probably not always going to agree with the choices. I mean, even on our pre-planning and board things, I haven't always agreed with the choices, but I've recognized, well, this is what we're doing. And so,
Sure.
you support it because this is
But any
part of
good
being a
utopia
member.
is messy. Utopia is messy.
Right.
But the
Right.
meaning, to me, the meaning of utopia is having the power to weigh in. Not
Yeah.
having the power to always get what you want, but having the
Right.
voice to weigh in. Because right now, where do we have that voice? Nowhere.
Not many, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a union member, sort of the union, but in a very limited way, because
Yeah.
that's what they're able to do. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
also want to say, like, if you have things that you want to see happen, or you have a vision for the direction of this community, this industry, whatever, please join a committee, contribute
Yes.
your voice. And yes, email us, tell us your ideas. We'd love to hear them. But, Emily and I are only 2 people. The board's only 9
Sure.
people.
Be part
The
of the
more people that we
solution.
have
Yeah.
joining us and putting in the work, the easier everything is going to be. So, like, it would have been a lot easier to address this issue if the advocacy committee had been already meeting for
met.
several months and had like a plan of action in place. But they haven't had their first meeting yet. Hopefully in November is when it's going to be.
Nobody could expect you guys to actually
November.
implement change in anything in 5 days. I mean, you do walk on water as narrators, but I don't know about
Don't
that.
count us out yet, but don't guarantee anything.
Also, like, personally, I mean, this moment is like one of the reasons that I wanted to found this group. If we don't live up to it, I will personally be disappointed. I may not have total control because I've been outvoted by the board before and haven't agreed with decisions, and that's just how democracy works.
That's how it works.
But I personally would love to have this be the moment that we like rise to everyone's expectations. But it's just happening way sooner than I expected.
Everything is a little bit faster and bigger and less expected than we were.
Baptism by fire is what it's called.
But
we've got some questions. I should probably start, or we're going to run out. So I've got from the earlier talk. So I wonder if maybe the membership question from Anna. Wondering if maybe the membership committee should have 2 sections, one for new narrators and one for veterans, since the focus. Sorry, I've lost it.
All of the committees can have subcommittees.
Yeah, that's up to them.
Yeah.
Okay. And question: how is this any different to the APA working with SpeechKey, the Russian AI TTS group?
How is it? Because we're not working with an AI company? I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Or being sponsored by Positron. Maybe that person can...
Do you mean like how is what B's doing different?
Yeah.
Okay, I think, well, so I'm not speaking as like a Pana representative right now. I'm just speaking as like a person in this community. I think the difference is that there's somebody who directly employs human narrators and has an agreement with SAG-AFTRA. And so, like, for example, there was a fear, a lot of people on Facebook were like, are they using our voices for this to advance this technology? That's a big legal no-no. So, there are other considerations beyond just having a known AI company sponsoring APAC or being a member of the APA, which anyone can have their own opinions about those things also. But I think in this case, it was somebody, a company that many of us work for doing this. And that was a big different feeling to me.
It's a different
like,
situation. Yeah.
And personally, I was not happy when APAC had AI sponsors either. So I was upset about that too. But it was one of those things where I was like, well, they're the Audio Publishers Association, so that's an audio publisher.
I was very cool about that too, until I went on LinkedIn and saw some guy's profile and it said, creating 1 million robot audiobooks by the end of the year. That's my mission.
I mean, he
And
can
he
create
was from
them, but
that
that doesn't
company.
mean
All of a
anyone's
sudden I
gonna
was
listen.
like, wow.
Yeah, no, I have personal opinions about that stuff too.
Yeah.
But I think that the B thing was different because we actually work with B, and so we have some influence and pull.
And they have all your files, don't they? Can you talk a bit more about your thoughts of working with SAG-AFTRA as a member in the audiobook community?
So we are super excited. SAG-AFTRA, you know, we've spoken with them. They are excited about partnering with us on various things. Obviously, Jane and Rich, if you're not familiar with them, they are our audiobook representatives. They do a lot of the work for us in bargaining agreements for SAG-AFTRA. They are wonderful, wonderful people who are highly overworked. And so there is a lot that they are juggling. They are very excited to work with us. They're also in the middle of some huge negotiations right now. And also we're just trying to get our feet on the ground and, you know, get this airplane in the air here. So there is great potential there. There's great enthusiasm. There's a lot of shared commitment and appreciation for one another. But we don't have any concrete plans at the moment because it's all so new. But again, you want to do something like that, get on the sponsorships committee and let's work with SAG-AFTRA and come up with, I don't know, create an event that they can sponsor, or, you know, that there are huge options here. We just need people. We just need people to bring those to life.
Okay, so this is a good one. This seems to be very American oriented. Is there a place for English voices?
Absolutely. We are 100% an international organization. Now, I'm personally American. This is founded in America. But I personally don't see a reason why we can't also help with international type issues. We have the DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. Part of their definition of diversity is international voices. And so that, you know, maybe they'll form a subcommittee. I can't speak to what that committee is going to do because they haven't started yet. But that the idea is to have a place for those voices to say, hey, we need this. Because, you know, I am American. I can't know what you need until you tell me. So, but I would very much like to see a place where we can create those resources. And I mean, there was a conversation the other day where somebody was saying that they're neurodiverse and they wish that there were resources for neurodiverse narrators. And I was like, great, help us make them. You know, this is very much if you're willing to do the work, we're willing to support you however we can kind of organization.
And also, so we had some sort of initial just sounding out the committee interest surveys, and between that and the people who have actively signed up as members and filled out the committee interest survey, quite a few of our DEI volunteers, we'll see if they actually show up as members of the committee, but a lot, like I would say like a third were international narrators who specifically were like, I want to bring international perspective to this. So, you know, and we've got at least one, if not a couple other. We're waiting to announce committee chairs till they're all finalized and everyone is certain that that is a role they want to fill. But I mean, we're looking at international chairs for some of those. So like, you know, our goal is to be as inclusive as possible. It was part of how we picked which payment systems to use on the website was, can international people join? Can they pay us? Because if you can't pay us, well, that's more difficult. But like, that has been part of the conversation from the beginning. We are very serious about it. And, you know, just like Emily said, if there's something you're not seeing, raise your voice. We can't do it unless we know it's a thing. So speak up.
I think that goes back to what I was saying earlier, that it's only going to be as good as the people that step up to it. We can't just sit there and go, right, Emily, could you listen to all our complaints and fix everything for us?
We'll do our best, but ultimately we're creating the platform essentially.
Yeah, we're giving the structure.
We're giving the structure in which the community can have its own voice. And then we will advocate for what you tell us you want as hard as we possibly can. But you have to tell us what you want.
Yeah.
And tell us that you'll help us build it.
Yeah, that too.
we want to know what you want, but we also need people. It's very much, this is a group project. Don't be the person who sits in the corner and won't participate in the group project.
This is not a place for whiners.
I mean, we want to hear it, but also be willing to do something about it.
Yeah, it keeps coming back to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Speak up. You know,
I wish that I could snap my fingers and solve everyone's issues, but the fact is that Emily and I are only two people. The board, we only have so many resources to go around, and we're going to have to make decisions. We're going to have to prioritize, especially for our first year. Yeah. What do we really need to focus on this first year, you know? But that doesn't mean that we can't have other stuff on the sidelines. And if you're a person who's like, I want to see this done, then we will do what we can to help you. You know, I don't want to overpromise and say that, oh, we can solve everything, you know, because that's not realistic. We can only do what we can do. But the more resources we have in terms of people, in terms of, you know, paid members who can support programs, et cetera, like that's what's going to determine whether this organization really makes a difference or not.
And also it'll feel better if you've been part of the solution.
Yes.
Than rather than just I complained and someone fixed it for me. It'll feel better if you're part of it. It would. Do you know how wonderful it would actually feel if all narrators got together and we wouldn't feel like victims? I'm not saying I ever feel like a victim, but that's how it seems whenever some new AI thing comes on and all the Facebook world goes, oh my God, well, what's happening? And we're all sitting here going, are we still going to make a living? But if you feel the strength of all your peers behind you and the bravery of the Emilys and Helen and Hillary and Steve, and I mean, seriously, if I was on a sinking ship, I'd want you guys on it. Well, not with me, obviously. I think there was a sentiment behind that. I've got a comment. Once you get started, everything will work. Okay, I've lost the comment. Once you get started, everything will work through. You never know what hurdles you may have to jump. This is often, and I'm thrilled, awesome, and I'm thrilled to be part of it. Thank you, Emily and Emily. That's from Kat.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay, so everyone, we're coming to the end of the call. I normally say, what final words would you like to say for our YouTube audience? People that missed the live call and are going to be watching on YouTube. And also keep in mind, they could be watching you in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And you could be like this massive organization that's like worked miracles by then. So, but what words would you like to have engraved in stone for them? I'll start with, since you're on the screen, Emily Ellet, and then we'll go to Emily Lawrence.
Oh, no. Oh gosh, no pressure, huh? I would say there is tremendous potential where we stand right now, and whether we can realize that potential depends on who steps up and how. Like I'm going to pull right from what you said. Be the solution you want to see. Be the excitement you want to see. Be the action you want to see. That's what membership and collective action can be. But you got to be there.
Pretty good words. Emily, you got to top that.
Is it a competition?
Thank you,
never a competition. She's going to compliment what I said.
Thank you.
The geometric compliment.
I think I am personally really hopeful for what this organization can achieve, or I wouldn't, we wouldn't have slaved over it for the last 6 months. I really believe in this community. I believe in our ability to be there for each other, to support each other, to be a force for good in our personal lives, our careers, and our industry as a whole. I'm going to get emotional, but I can't promise you the world. I'm doing my best. I really am. And I know the board cares deeply about this. We're all very passionate about doing what we can to, solve the problems that are facing us, to strengthen our community, and et cetera. As we've said many times this call, we can't do it alone. But you know, in addition to volunteering on a committee and helping us out, which would be great, please don't be afraid to talk to us. I personally like to pride myself on being approachable, I think. And if you're, you know, 6 months from now, 5 years from now, if you're having an issue, give us a chance, you know, give us a shot. And if we, you know, fail you again and again and again, which God, I hope we don't, but you know, then I understand being frustrated. Like I know people are frustrated with other places, but I have every good intention of having this be a place of community and a place where narrators can come together and support each other. So I can't promise everything, but I'm going to do my best. And if you can help in any way, please join us and let's make a difference.
Okay, so I've got one final little cheeky question for you both.
Oh.
How are you feeling at this moment of your venture? Scared, excited? What's the first word that comes to mind about the whole thing?
Well, about the venture is different from keeping up with it. The first word that came to mind was drowning, but that's just because there's only two of us doing this work. I mean, literally, Emily and I are creating all of your social media posts, retweeting everything. We're, you know, I'm managing all of the member approvals, and every time the website breaks and like trying to track down, why can't this person pay me? Like, I cannot express how much work we have done in the past 5 days.
I'm in the 6 months leading up to it. I mean
there's been a lot of work.
But
It's intense. So like practically, I feel like I'm drowning, but more like spiritually in terms of this organization, I just feel tremendous like excitement potential. Honestly, the word that came was like fireworks sparks. Like
yeah, see, that's what I want. The first word. Yep, that's a good one. I like that.
That's what I'm feeling.
Fireworks. I love that. That's a good one. Emily?
And God, I feel like it's all of the above. I mean, you know, stressed about the amount of work, but, you know, I am also terrified because I am keenly aware of the good support, the you know, the community coming together the way it has. And I am terrified of disappointing people. Not that I think we will, but just because as a human, I don't want to be responsible for the organization that lets people down, you know, and I recognize that as co-founder, and on the board, and because I'm kind of the public face, like blasting it all over the place and spamming everyone's Facebook groups, I recognize that like there's an element of this that like I'm not the organization, but I also feel really responsible for it.
But
and
that's
so
why everyone loves you so much. That's why you should kind of run for office somewhere.
Because you care.
I kind of did, you know. My position's elected, so I'll be running again next year, probably. But anyway, I feel a very keen sense of responsibility. But ultimately, I feel so hopeful. I mean, I just said that, but I feel so hopeful in what this organization can accomplish. And if it doesn't live up to my own personal expectations, I'm going to be right there with everyone else, as jaded as everyone. So.
Well, I do want to mention, because she thought she was going to get off easily, I do want to mention the special guest we had, Helen, because I've got to say, the minute I hear Helen Lloyd is behind something, Helen, how do you feel about this whole thing? I'm going to put you in the spotlight.
I'm not a special guest. I am just a very, very, very proud member of Pana.
You're always a special guest when you're on one of our calls.
No, for me, it's I've always struggled with the fact that there are so many organizations and they do great work, but none of them are our organizations. They're always somebody else's organization that kind of has narrators as an add-on at the end. It's like we're the optional extra that gets stuck on because we turn up in nice frocks and look pretty at award ceremonies. And, you know, we do the work, but that's not... We're such a vibrant community. We have so much to offer and so much to share, and to be part of something right at the very, 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 very beginning, when it's got the opportunity to explode and change the world that I've been a part of for the last 50 years, is incredibly exciting. And I'm just I think you guys are amazing, Emily and Emily, and I hope you get somebody to start answering your emails soon before you
I
go.
know.
Soon.
Helen's
Okay,
okay.
thank you.
You know, you
These
need an
committees online.
administrator somewhere in there. I'm not volunteering.
I
but
know,
you do
I was
need
thinking the
somebody in there
same.
to help.
No. Helen, by the way, is chairing our membership committee. But so emails are communications committee's jurisdiction, so you don't have to worry about it.
That's not you.
No, not me. No, I'm very excited. It's brilliant. I'm really pleased. And I'm glad I was able to be here tonight. Thank you, Daniela.
Thank you so much for joining. And thank you, Emily Lawrence and Emily Ellet. You've talked this cynical old lady down, and
I didn't know we were doing that.
after the kind of week I had, seriously, before this call, I was like, okay, don't let me say anything inappropriate, because I tend to like, and the person was like, no, just calm down and listen. But now I'm like your biggest fan. So, and I told Helen I'm not normally a joiner, but yeah, this was just, it was affirming and it was lovely. And if we catch, I don't know who that was that left that message saying that they had had a negative experience. If we can catch one of those people and show them the example of Emily and the passion and the commitment and the amount of care you're putting into this, then that's worth everything. That's changing one person's experience while they're chasing their dream.
I also want to say thank you, Daniela, for hosting this, for providing us an opportunity to talk about this. For all of you, watching today, if you've never tried to moderate a discussion like this and all the questions pouring in, it is tremendously hard work to look cute, sound fun, and still parse through all of those chats. So, Daniela, you did a wonderful job. Thank you so much for creating this beautiful forum and space for us all to share about Pana and to ask our questions and feel open and honest. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys. This will be out. I'll try to get it out within 2 weeks, and hopefully a little bit earlier, luck with me. And good luck with everything and with your first big test.
Opportunity is the
opportunity.
word
Thank you.
Opportunity.
Yes. Opportunity.
Your first big opportunity. And I can't wait to see where this goes. It's very exciting. And I can say I knew you win.
Yes, definitely.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Bye.
It's been wonderful. Bye. Bye.
Thank you.